This is the Chris Stigall Show podcast.
Okay, guys, let's just rip. And Chris Stigall.
Chris Stigall. Chris, thanks for being with me tonight.
Chris Stigall.
I'm joined now by Chris Stigall.
Now, he puts the broad in broadband. It's Chris Stigall.
The Chris Stigall podcast is presented by usmedicalplan.com. Save big money monthly and get better health coverage at usmedicalplan.com.
It's Friday, the 25th day of August, and I thank you so much for downloading the Chris Stigall Show podcast. Coming up today, the senior legal correspondent for the Federalist. She's brilliant. Margot Cleaveland is her name, and Margot's going to kind of break down for us how she reads these now 4 indictments of Donald Trump. It's pretty interesting, her perspective, and I asked her to kind of dive deep for those of you that are trying to kind of figure out what is this all about, what are these indictments, how to talk about them, the merits of them or lack thereof. She's a very serious lady, so you'll learn a lot in this conversation about what the indictments are, which ones she thinks might have some shred of credibility to them, or at least the most serious ones in her mind, what she thinks of yesterday. Also, Hogan Gidley, who is a great communicator and boils this thing down to its essence. The very serious news media, very seriously treating this very seriously. You can see some of the serious pictures that I took this morning of the serious news media's coverage of Donald Trump and his mugshot yesterday. You can check out my social media and see how very seriously they're treating this. They're laughing. They're laughing at you. They're laughing at me. They're laughing at this. They don't think this is serious. They think it's entertaining. They think it's entertaining that not a single Democrat has paid for any of their crimes. They continue to stick their middle finger in the air and laugh as they continue to mock and tease you and me. I'll get a little more into targeting Elon Musk. The Department of Justice targeted him yesterday. The ratings are in on the Fox News debate, so we'll unpack that a little bit too. Sit tight. But first, let me tell you about the guy that makes this show possible. He's the guy that underwrites it financially. His name is John Ruhlman. His company is called U.S. Medical Plan. And so I hope if you are someone looking for a new health insurance policy or you don't have one at all, you call him today. usmedicalplan.com or 877-410-4321. 877-410-4321. Let him go to work and find a policy that covers you, your small business employees, your family, and reduces those premium costs. Doesn't cut coverage, it just cuts costs. You'd be amazed if you're a younger person or you're a senior on a fixed income. You'll be amazed how much money you can save. He works with 80 different private insurers to find you the best rate. Give him a couple of minutes. It could change your whole financial situation month to month. Seriously, like hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands. 877-410-4321 or usmedicalplan.com. So last night at about 6:30, Joe Biden tweeted this. Apropos of nothing, I think today's a great day to give to my campaign. Explain to me why the House Republicans should not move to impeach this son of a bitch right now. Today. Why not right now? If this is not the most brazen collusion with the Department of Justice to use and weaponize the government to silence, intimidate, and threaten your chief political rival and the tens of millions of people who support and will vote for him, I don't know what is. He literally sent out a fundraising note saying, apropos of nothing, ha, ha, ha. How about you give to my campaign? It is long past time for House Republicans to open an impeachment inquiry on, I would say, not just Joe Biden, but also Merrick Garland. As for the Trump campaign, they're selling merchandise featuring the mugshot in Fulton County already, which was to be expected and, of course, brilliant. I like the mugshot. I think he went in there with the dark suit and the red tie. He was ready for it. He knew exactly how he wanted to look. The only thing that I was curious about was whether he was going to smile, a big toothy grin, or whether he was going to give him the old skunk eye. He went with the latter. He went with the skunk eye. What do you think of the mugshot, Fast Eddie?
I was really hoping for the smile. I got to be honest. I thought that would have been cool.
You wanted the big cheesy smile.
Yeah, absolutely.
like he was having the time of his life.
That's my sense of humor.
He went with angry. He looks like he gave the old tough hombre look. And then he came out after he was fingerprinted and given the mugshot and all of that. He came out onto the tarmac of the airport before taking off from Georgia, had this to say.
It's a very sad day for America. This should never happen. If you challenge an election, you should be able to challenge an election. I thought the election was a rigged election, a stolen election, and I should have every right to do that. As you know, you have many people that you've been watching over the years do the same thing, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Stacey Abrams or many others.
Al Gore.
When you have that great freedom to challenge, you have to be able to, otherwise you're going to have very dishonest elections. What has taken place here is a travesty of justice. We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And everybody knows it. I've never had such support. And that goes with the other ones, too. What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election. There's never been anything like it in our country before. This is their way of campaigning. And this is one instance, but you have three other instances. It's election interference. So I want to thank you for being here. We did nothing wrong at all. And we have every right, every single right, to challenge an election that we think is dishonest, that we think is very dishonest. So thank you all very much, and I'll see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Fox News is moving heaven and earth to convince you that their debate, DeSantis was the big clear winner. Hey, remember, there's a whole Republican field over here, and look at how excited everybody was about him, huh? That was... And again, folks, it's not anti-DeSantis. It's really not. I know people that are supportive of Ron DeSantis think I'm being anti-DeSantis. I'm not. I love Ron DeSantis. I think he's a great governor. It's just so obvious to me. Fox is like, whoa, how about Ron DeSantis now? Huh? Maybe? What do you think? Now the mugshot? And what keeps happening, of course, is every episode like this, all it does is continue to snowball. And now people are making fake Fulton County jail mugshots of themselves as vanity photos. People are taking the Trump mugshot, they're putting it on shirts, they're making it their social media profile picture. They're superimposing their own photos with the sheriff's badge logo of Fulton County in the corner of the picture, sending it out as their own. I mean, like, it now is just becoming, it's like... You can keep trying to say, oh, this is the low water mark. Now, isn't it really time to move on and go with DeSantis? It's just not working. And look, I know for a lot of you who are deeply concerned about this election, and who's not concerned about the election? But I mean, you're concerned in the sense that you think you now believe beyond a shadow of a doubt Donald Trump cannot win. And every time something like this happens, you become more intensely committed to the idea there's no shot in hell Donald Trump can win. And it frustrates you to see that this becomes a pop culture move inside the GOP base. I understand. I really do. So it's not lost on me that there are a lot of you that are just freaking out about this. You don't like this development. You think this is exponentially worse. But the reaction to that mugshot yesterday is now people turning it into their own profile picture inside the GOP base. This does not cause anybody to run away from Trump that was supportive of Trump. And this is getting kind of tired and old, I understand. But if anybody thinks that anything they do to him at this point, well, it's what Tucker said in the interview. And it's a terribly uncomfortable thing to say. Dan Bongino's been saying this for a while. And Tucker asked in the interview, are they going to kill you next? Are they going to try to kill you? Do you worry about trying to be, like, they may just try to assassinate you? It's a violently uncomfortable question, but it did come up. Trump didn't really tackle that head on, but Tucker pushed it a couple of different times.
Are you worried that they're going to try and kill you? Why wouldn't they try and kill you, honestly?
They're savage animals. They are people that are sick, really sick. You have great people in the Democrat Party. You have great people that are Democrats. Most of the people in our country are fantastic, and I'm representing everybody. I'm not just Republicans or conservatives. I represent everybody. I'm the president of everybody. But I've seen what they do. I've seen the lengths that they go to. When they make up the Russia, when that's exposed and they go down, and Barr should have gone after them, and other people should have gone after, and they did very late, because the Durham report came out. It was fairly good. It could have been a lot tougher, I guess, but it was fairly good.
And then it goes on. But
it explained how.
The point is, I mean, Tucker asked this 2 different times, and Bongino said it again yesterday. He's talking with people. This is Bongino's claim. You know, he used to be in presidential detail. He says that there are people in the know that are deeply concerned about this man's physical safety now. Do you go there in your head? I've never allowed myself to go there, but in fact, I had a couple of people email me that were very uncomfortable with the question from Tucker. Or the people like Bongino keep saying that Trump may be in physical danger. Do you let yourself go there? I've never gone there, to be perfectly honest with you. Maybe I should. I don't know. Do you?
If he wins the primary and he starts doing those rallies like they were massive and they're starting to get scared, it is something of concern to me, Chris, honestly.
You really do? Like, how long have you been thinking they might try to kill him? Sincerely. Because that's, to be perfectly honest with you, that's a place I just not gone until the last 24 hours when I heard Tucker ask it directly to his face. I'd never even... But again, I suppose my failure of an imagination is my downfall. I'm still, I guess, somewhat naive that there are limits and boundaries to what the American left will do. And I continue to be proven wrong. Every time I think we can't possibly sink lower and I can't think their hatred would become more depraved, you know, there's a mugshot of the man in a county prison, a former president. I mean, it was the most sad, demoralizing, disgraceful thing I've ever seen. I mean, CNN almost gleeful at the deplorable conditions of the jail in which he was arraigned yesterday.
Mr. Trump will be booked at the Fulton County Jail. It's a jail known for rather deplorable conditions, including inmate deaths and excessive force, and a prison population that is more than double the amount it was designed to hold. 4 people have lost their lives there in just the past few weeks. The jail has also been deemed structurally unsafe. CNN's Brian Todd has been closely following this story. Brian, this is the site of the bookings for Donald Trump and his co-defendants. They're not going to spend any nights there, but it does give us an opportunity to shine a light on this jail's horrible reputation.
Okay.
That's right, Jake. This place is...
Why this? Why this? Why is this a subject for them? As we're talking about them arraigning, mugshotting the former president of the United States. Why do you think they're covering that? You think this is just an honest opportunity to audit our jail system by highlighting the deplorable conditions of the Fulton County Jail? Sincerely, see, I don't have the hard answer. I have my theories. Why do you think they're saying that?
They're showing that Trump, just like Trump is the worst of the worst, and so are his co-defendants.
I also think they may be laying the groundwork for just what we were talking about. They're now telling you that he is a common... You know, Kelly O'Donnell, I think it was, a couple of weeks ago when she went to... when Jack Smith had his little show in D.C. for the D.C. arraignment, she tweeted, as Trump was sitting on the tarmac, I think waiting to leave Washington to go back to Bedminster, she tweeted something snarky like, "No presidential motorcade this time. No clearing the jetway this time. Donald Trump has to wait on the tarmac to take off. Has to wait for other commercial jets ahead of him to take off, just like any other common man." Ha, ha, ha. So it does seem like they're laying the groundwork that he is not unique. He is not special. There is nothing about this man to revere. There is nothing we will respect or revere. His former presidency is moot. Former presidents don't matter anymore. You know, it used to be we'd have big photo ops with the living former presidents. We built libraries for them. We celebrate our former presidents, traditionally, no matter what party, no matter what we think of them. In fact, most every ex-president in their time after they leave office, they're, you know, in most places, tensions die down, memories grow short, legacy thinking starts to kick in. People start to, you know, George W. Bush is not the hated, reviled figure that he used to be. Now he paints and he jogs and rides bikes with wounded veterans. And even the left now thinks he's sort of an avuncular uncle. You know, people are watching Jimmy Carter, who's, I guess, in hospice still, kicking. Did a lot of work with Habitat for Humanity. You know, Obama lives in Martha's Vineyard. He doesn't do a lot but collect checks. But, you know, certainly Bill Clinton, he's kind of faded away. But even him, the old predatory pervert, even he, you know, when they gather together, everybody's kind of had a reverence, respect. It's not terribly hostile generally. Not this guy. Why? Because he's still very politically viable. Because tens of millions of people would still like to see him in power. And he still could run and win. So they have to, if they can't break your support for him, if they can't make this large swath of the electorate break, then they're going to tell you he is nothing but a common criminal. He is not special. There is nothing about him that will be given any kind of deference or respect. We will treat him like a common thug, and watch how we do it. Ha ha ha, he has to sit on the tarmac just like any other commoner. Ha ha ha, he's being arraigned in this filthy jail. Ha ha ha, look at the mugshot. Ha ha ha. And this is not about him, you do understand. This is about the tens of millions of people that would consider voting for him. And again, I know that there are a lot of you in this audience that have moved off of him long ago. You don't want a second bite at this apple. You're grateful for his presidency, but you want to move on. You think DeSantis or somebody else would be better. I respect it. But I also hope that you understand and respect that there are tens of millions of people that now feel like they're ready to go to war. For him. And not because of the personality, not because of the man, not because there's anything in it for them in terms of like some sort of fealty or loyalty to Trump. I mean, Trump's a mortal man. He will die someday. And those of us that are still alive after he's dead will carry on with our lives. You know, we're not, this is not about a pledge to some cult leader, as they might claim. This is about tens of millions of Americans who now understand the gravity of a government that has decided that we are their enemy. This is about a government at war with its people. And they are using Donald Trump as their scalp to symbolize to the rest of us, you want a piece of it? Watch what we do to your guy. Watch what we do to the leader of your little movement. We'll crush him like a bug, so don't think that any of you stand a chance. I hope everybody understands that message. And so, you know, just because you're ready to move off of him and you're ready to say, well, it needs to be DeSantis or Ramaswamy or Nikki Haley or whatever, I appreciate that. I really do, from a strategical political point of view. But this is so much bigger than even an election, really. This is a national reckoning now. It really is. I'm almost, in a way, indifferent to the outcome of the election because of the severity of what happened and what has been happening. The man's home's been raided, 4 times indicted. You know, now you have people openly asking, could they murder you, sir? You think they might murder you? And for the first time in my life as an American, I'm considering, are they that motivated? Do they hate those of us that support this guy that much? They'd murder him? And you look at the way they treated the Supreme Court justices when they overturned Roe versus Wade and their families, threatening them. And you look at the Bernie Sanders supporter who opened fire on the Republican baseball field a couple of years ago. You look at an assassin who walked into a Christian school and gunned down a bunch of kids because she's transgender or some such thing. You listen to their open contempt for human life and their willingness to terminate children even after they've been born. They're ghouls. We live in a very dark, ghoulish, supernaturally wicked time. So, what do you say about it? It's uncomfortable. It's sad. It's a lot of things, but it's officially become far bigger than a presidential election to me. I mean, they want to talk about debates. How does anybody even seriously have a debate about the next president of the United States after this episode? What are we debating? They mugshotted a former president because he challenged the election results? Didn't violate any laws. It's not illegal to challenge an election. And if it is, God help us. The government's going to tell you who won. You won't question it after that. And if you do, we'll arrest you, is the message. You do know that, right? I mean, we'll tell you who won on election night, and you'll never look into it again. And if you do, you see what happened to him, your leader? You'll never see the light of day again. Got it? So don't bother. Don't bother asking questions. Don't challenge elections. We'll tell you who won, and then you'll shut up and you'll like it. That's what this is about. This is for your consumption. It has nothing to do with him. Have you watched the conversation with my pal Jason Perrette at Eagle Wealth Planning? He's the financial advisor there at Eagle Wealth Planning. He has a passion for providing financial services to those who are looking to pursue financial independence. I was talking with one of my sons this weekend about a financial future, and he was thinking about things like Roth IRAs. He's been investigating this on his own. I said, you got to sit down with Jason, and we're going to do that soon. Listen, it doesn't matter where you are on your walk to financial freedom. Jason's main objective at Eagle Wealth Planning is to help clients pursue their goals. Because he's a fiduciary, he's dedicated to providing clients with complete wealth management and investment services, highly personalized professional assistance. It's not about what he pockets. All right. Jason can help accomplished entrepreneurs, professionals, retirees, or young people like my son just get started to a long-term financial independent road. He regularly revisits your goals and assesses your risk tolerance. We have a whole conversation about this at my website. Go to chrisstigall.com. You can watch my conversation with him, and it doesn't matter where you live. If you don't like your particular advisor or you don't have one, let Jason step in and see if he can take a look at your money, see if he can help it grow and get you to that place of financial independence that all of us are striving to get to. I think you're going to like the way he works. He's a blunt, no-nonsense kind of guy, tells you the truth, loves conversation. You're going to love working with him. Go to EagleWealthPlanning.com. That's EagleWealthPlanning.com. Or you can call Jason today at 816-394-8117. That's 816-394-8117. As always, there's a video conversation. Jason and I sit down and chat. It's at chrisstigall.com. He's also linked at chrisstigall.com so you can get a sense of Jason. I always think it's important if you're going to talk about partnering with somebody, you should get to know them. You should see what they're all about, and you'll see in that conversation kind of Jason's character and the way he thinks and talks and acts. I think you're going to like him a lot. So go to chrisstigall.com for more information or email him at jason@eaglewealthplanning.com. Securities and advisory services offered through Cetera Advisors, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC, a broker-dealer, and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. How about this? You ready? 13 million, not quite, 12.8 million viewers. Viewership numbers for the Republican primary of 2015. You want to take a guess? So hit rewind, go back to 2015 when there were 300 Republicans running. Remember low energy Jeb, please clap. Little Marco in the hands, Lion Ted, Trump. All right, so hit rewind, go back to 2015. I just told you that the Fox News debate for the Republicans, 8 of them on stage, no Trump, just over 12 million. You want to take a stab at what it was back then, 2015, for the first Republican debate?
I'm going to say it was double that.
You're exactly right. It was double. 24 million. That was Megyn Kelly's blood coming out of her eyes Rosie O'Donnell, fat pigs, the whole deal. Yeah. So also they're making a big to-do right now about Tucker Carlson's numbers and whether there's a research firm out there that's saying, it's not true. It's not genuine. You can't say that he had 200 million views on this thing. It is stunning. The X, formerly Twitter platform that Tucker used for the Trump interview, it has had over 200 million impressions. Now, what is an impression? I was talking with a friend of mine offline about this. I'll just say generally, because legally, I can't really talk about these things. It's a violation. But I will just say generally, ratings and metrics have always been complete and utter crap. They've always sucked. It's an inexact science. It's all voodoo and silliness. For the most part, it's all... For instance, when you say 12 million people were watching Fox News debate, what does that mean exactly? Well, it's an extrapolated number, first of all. You can't possibly have 12 million monitored homes. That's not the way it works. So it's a average. It's like... how do you do it? It's like a sample. It's a poll. It's, when you go out and you poll 200 likely voters, then you extrapolate it out. It's the same thing with the rating system. Now, the people that they physically monitor, some people do, they actually physically participate in ratings. All right? If you physically participate, those people are monitored. But here's the inexact science of this. You can't tell how long these people watched that debate. So, in other words, if I dial up the Fox News debate and watch that, now radio is a little different. We actually have a metric called time spent listening, and people that actually participate in ratings for the audio business, the amount of time people listen is actually tracked. But television ratings, you don't know. I mean, if I dial up the Fox News debate for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, it registers that I watched it. But did I watch it or did I just check it out for a second? And does that matter? Well, I mean, to the network, no. Because they want to be able to tell advertisers, we had 12 million people watching. Yeah, but were they really watching? Like, did they stay with it the entire time? We don't know. Similarly with digital stuff. Digital's even worse. Digital's impossible. Downloads, views, impressions, clicks. I mean, Fast Eddie, it's just an inexact science, and it always probably, well, I shouldn't say it always will be. Maybe someday there'll be some creepy new technology that will be able to tell the end user's exact viewing and listening habits. I'm sure they're working on it now, but as of today, the technology does not exist. So said another way, if you're scrolling through X, formerly Twitter, and you see, because you follow Tucker, and you just see embedded in his tweets or posts on X, the video of him interviewing Trump, the fact that you saw it registers as an impression. And then if you click on it, even if for a second, it's a view, a download, a click, a watch, whatever word you want to use.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean you watched all 45 minutes of it. You could have watched 10 seconds of it, and it counts. But again, in this game, look, we're all in the business of trying to get an audience. I mean, that's not a secret. Tucker wants an audience. Fox News wants an audience. I want an audience. And we all hope that we'll be able to hold you as an audience member as long as possible. And in that process, we hope that you'll hear advertisers that spend dollars with us. You'll like their services and goods. You'll spend your dollars with the people that advertise with us. It's a three-legged stool. Everybody understands that business model. But what is demonstrably true is it's devastating what's happening to cable news right now. It is a shell of what it was just a few years ago. Fox News is not what it was. It's just unbelievable to me that back in 2015, Fox was the destination where everyone gathered around and watched something like the Republican presidential debate. And Trump probably wouldn't have even thought of skipping it then. Like, if all things were equal and you could rewind to 2015, but everything that has happened to date happened that much earlier, I doubt, I can't say that for sure, but Trump would have seen the importance of it because Fox would have been seen as the only place to go get this kind of access. I mean, how many times have I told you people that have been around for a while still think that being, quote, syndicated or being on cable is like the pinnacle. That's the zenith. You know, once upon a time, that's true. But now technically everyone is syndicated everywhere all the time. I mean, technically, by technical definition, this show is syndicated because literally anyone can listen to it anywhere in the world. All of us who create programming are syndicated now. There is no such thing as traditional. I mean, there is traditional broadcast syndication, but my point is you don't need traditional broadcast to be syndicated anymore. Digital does it. But by the same token, digital has its own set of issues because that's sort of an imperfect way to measure. And broadcasters are a little bit better at how to specifically measure consumption. Digital has still yet to really be able to figure it out. But everybody wants advertisers. And what Fox is doing, did you hear they threw Donald Trump Jr. out? Trump Jr. and Kimberly Guilfoyle went to this thing and they threw him out of the spin room, got security, got some goons from Fox News to keep Trump Jr. out of the spin room. Wasn't allowed to go in. Kimberly Guilfoyle, one of their former employees. Fox News is acting desperate. They look like desperate, panicky, small, petty, petulant people desperately clinging to relevance. It's slipping from them. That's what's clear. I mean, Tucker Carlson has effectively, even by, more specific metrics, there's some data analysts that are critical of this 200,000 download thing that people are touting. That's not real. Here's what's real. Well, it doesn't. Look, the point is, Tucker's new format over there still kicked Fox's butt, and Fox is still half the audience they were back in 2015 for a similar event. I remind you that when Trump went on CNN and had the shootout with Caitlin Collins, that did better than Sean did with him in a similar format a week or two later. Fox is dying on the vine. And just a couple of years ago, to be on Fox, boy, that was your calling card. You get on Fox and you're off like a rocket, boy. That's that's. I don't feel that way. I haven't felt that way for some time. I don't watch it much, if at all, anymore. I did watch it because, it's my job. I watched the debate, but that's the first time I've given Fox more than 5 minutes of my time since Tucker was fired 4 months ago. And I haven't missed it even a bit. And I don't feel like I'm missing anything. That's more to the point. I don't need them. And they know it. Which is why they're sending out all these legal edicts threatening the rest of us that we're not to share their content because they want us all to say, well, if you didn't see the debate, I can't legally play any of it. Go over to foxnews.com and watch it. It's sad, actually. In a way, it's sad to see this once great organization. It's sad to see them so desperately clinging and hanging on. Isn't it sad when you see someone who had dominance and was once strong just completely lose themselves and start lashing out and doing really embarrassing things to try to maintain their sense of power and control? I think they're sad, actually. I feel a little sorry for good people who still work there. It's a little embarrassing, to be perfectly frank. So that's the headline today. Fox is about half the viewers they were from 2015, while Tucker's X presentation with Trump. The breakdown, again, well, I won't bore you with a bunch of numbers. You get it. Meanwhile, the feds have decided to go after Elon Musk. Trump posted on X his mugshot It's the first post that Trump has used X since, I think on January 6th. I think his last post on X, formerly Twitter, was January 6th, 2020, and he has not touched it since, because he launched Truth Social. Last night, across all platforms, I think Facebook, Instagram, X, Truth Social, anywhere he is, he went back on X. I don't know if he's back on X for good. It would be wise. He has something like, 80 million followers or more? I don't know, maybe 100 million followers on X. He hasn't used it. 86 million?
Yeah.
Oh, man. So maybe he's come back around to using it. A lot of people have been begging him to get back on the thing. And now Elon Musk runs it. Coincidentally, as Tucker has gotten all these eyeballs and gone over to X, Trump did this highly watched interview on X. Now Trump using X. Interestingly, they target now the Fed's Elon Musk is back in their crosshairs. Surprised? I'm not. The Justice Department has accused Elon Musk's SpaceX company of violating federal law by refusing to hire foreign nationals who were granted U.S. work permits as asylum seekers or refugees. In a complaint filed yesterday, DOJ officials claim SpaceX rebuffed applications from asylum seekers and refugees. The company contended the U.S. export control laws and sensitive rocket technology meant that only U.S. citizens and green card holders could work for the firm. Lawyers for the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division said the high-profile civilian space exploration firm's interpretation of those laws was inaccurate. Can you imagine? Here's a guy making rockets to go to space, and he says, I don't want to hire just any yahoo that's crossed the border. This is sensitive technology. The Department of Justice's position is that that's bigoted. So they're going after Elon now, the Department of Justice. These people are straight up, this is, I don't have to tell you, I know this audience is smart and you get it. This is really scary. This is wildly out of hand. So on the same day we take a mugshot of a former sitting president, they go after the leading tech billionaire in the country. Simply because he provides a format where this man is being seen and still heard. You getting the sense? Like they're not going to rest until everyone is shut out and shut up and Trump has no voice. They'll chase his motorcade, but they won't allow him to be heard. With a V. Vox.com. Why Trump's surrender is such a big deal. And here's one of the subheadlines. Why you shouldn't tune this fourth indictment out. Hey, look, I know you're getting tired of Trump being indicted every other week, but this one's a big deal. There's understandably a lot of fatigue over all these indictments, but of the four, this one is really important. Sure it is. I suspect our friend Hogan Gidley sees it differently. He's the former deputy White House press secretary, vice chair of the Center for Election Integrity at the America First Policy Institute. It's been a bit, my friend. Welcome back.
It has been. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate that introduction. Of course, your laugh is so infectious. Hopefully we can get that rolling this morning.
Brother, I have to laugh because I'd cry if I didn't. It's if Trump can hang in there, I feel like I can. You know what I'm saying? I said that, and even for people who are not particularly fond of him or have decided to move on to another candidate or whatever, my feeling about this guy has always been at least this. If he's willing to get up every day and keep doing it, how can I turn my back on the man? I wouldn't blame him. And in fact, the last time I interviewed him, I said, why do you do it? Like, couldn't you just pack it in and go play golf and just say, I'm done? Wouldn't they leave you alone, don't you think? He wasn't quite sure they would, but you know what I'm saying, Hogan? He doesn't need this.
Well, what he understands is something that I think more and more people are beginning to kind of grasp and wrap their arms around. Is what he said in Erie, Pennsylvania, when he said, they're not indicting me, they're indicting you. They're coming after you. He talks about standing in the way. That's all true. But he also gets the fact that this is a fight for the future of the country. It's a fight for the future of American citizens and their rights given to us by God and our Constitution. And it's a fight worth fighting. Now, Donald Trump likes to fight a lot of fights, regardless of worth. Don't get me wrong. But this is a serious one, and the left, Vox.com, is right. It's serious, but it's serious for different reasons. on both sides. The left is going to take a picture or show that mugshot and say, hey, how could you support someone who has a mugshot? Look at this. Even though we believe it's politically motivated, and 77% of Americans also agree it's politically motivated. The right's going to take that picture and say, look, you're staring into the eyes of the tip of the spear, someone who has been harassed and targeted by a federal government from before he was president, while he was president, and now after he's president. They've gone after his businesses, his friends, his family, his staff. They are absolutely here at the gate, and they've broken through, and they put people in jail simply for liking the wrong tweet, downloading the wrong podcast, attending the wrong speeches, listening to the wrong radio stations. And those types of things are happening right now. I mean, they're jailing folks who care about their kids' education and critical race theory and transing their children behind their back in grade school and standing up for life. They're putting people in jail for this. And so this isn't a euphemism. It isn't kind of in the future, watch out for. It's here and it is now. And this man is standing in the gap and saying, guys, yeah, they're coming after me, and I'm going to use this to my advantage to try and raise money, and he should. I'm going to use it and embrace it to try and point out the injustices that are going on in a two-tiered justice system. It's not just who they prosecute, folks. It's who they protect. You see that with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, so many others on the left that do things that are clear violations of law that they don't go after. But, man, they'll even make up things to go after people who disagree with them politically. And that's what we're seeing kind of culminate in this mugshot and this latest attempt to try and take down Trump.
You know, Hogan, your point is so well made that if there was even a shred of the sense in this country that people like Hillary Clinton and that cabal inside DOJ that made up, or any one of those 51 liars about the Hunter Biden laptop, any of those people, or Biden himself, anybody paid even a shred of a price and some kind of justice was evenly applied to them, maybe there would be more people in this country willing to move off of Trump like they hope and want. But when it's so brazen that everyone on the left can do whatever they damn well please and not a thing happens to them and we all see it, it's like this intentional provocation that people like me, I just can't ignore it. Like, this has gotten beyond my feelings about Donald Trump. Donald Trump now he's just, for me, and I know it's emotion. It may not be politically savvy, and there are a lot of DeSantis people, for instance, that are enraged at people like me who say things like this because they think you're being an emotional idiot. But I can't help it. I'm so enraged. I can't bail on the guy, you know? What did you say? I'm sorry.
I said, well, you're a listless vessel. That's your problem.
Yeah,
look,
well, I mean,
let me dovetail on that for a second. You're so right. One of the words that I think liberals hate so much, the thought of, is transparency. They don't want you to see behind the curtain. Okay, whether it's election integrity, whether it's Hunter Biden's laptop, whether it's the transing of the kids, as I mentioned, they don't want you to see behind the curtain. But one thing and one word we need to be focused on, I think, in this election is accountability. When are you going to start holding people accountable for what they've done wrong? We know McCabe and Clapper and Comey and Brennan, they all lied. Those 51 intelligence officers who signed that letter that said the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. Only one of two things can be true. Either those 51 intelligence officers, quote unquote, either have no idea how to spot Russian disinformation, which is a real problem, or they knew it was fake and lied about it.
Yeah, you talk about RICO.
Either way, it's a problem. Yeah, talk about RICO. Outlined in Time magazine how they went to rig the last election by changing laws and all that. Talk about RICO right there. When you're talking about Hunter Biden and the Democrats are saying, no, it's not, no big deal, nothing to see here. Oh, Joe just lost son. 20-plus shell corporations, 21 phone calls with Hunter Biden, his dad, and business leaders from other nations, $20+ million into the Biden family coffers, more than 200 suspicious activity reports from banks, WhatsApp message from Hunter to Chinese authorities saying, hey, daddy's right here, give me my money. A text from Hunter to his children saying, hey, I hope you guys don't have to make all the money for the family like I've had to do. I mean, the evidence is so clear. Great. What the hell's going to happen about it, though?
Yes.
What are you going to do about it? That's the problem. And I think you're right. Had any of these people faced a modicum of justice, then we'd be having a different conversation right now.
Yes.
But I think people are getting more and more dug in because the parallel, the dual track that is happening simultaneously is virtually impossible to ignore. So when Hillary keeps classified documents on a server, she does things illegally, no big deal. At the same time, Trump has documents. Wait a minute. Biden has documents. Nothing happens. Pence has documents. Nothing really happens. But then Trump has documents, and we go after him. They're happening at the same time. So these aren't decades apart where you can parse and nuance and go, but remember when Hillary was different? Remember Biden really didn't have documents, Corvettes, garages, whatever. They're happening right now in real time, and people are going, oh, wait a minute. I may not like Trump, but I got a problem with what's going on. And I spoke to one of my friends yesterday who actually kind of works in the Ole Miss, Oxford area. And he said he was done with Trump. And then he said, I watched the interview with Tucker the other night. And he goes, I just don't know. How do you not like him? Right. And then he goes, and then I got to thinking, wait a minute. Look what they're doing to him. Like, it makes you want to defend him more. And I saw that mugshot, and for just a nanosecond, I was like, gosh, the left is going to use. And then I saw the picture, and I started looking at his eyes, and all I could see was, bring it.
Yeah.
You want this fight? You got it. And all I could think of was like, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, you make the fist, and we're back in the ring. And I'm telling you, I think a lot of people are going to look at this, and I hope they see it for what it is, which is a clear violation of our constitutional rights and a weaponization of government on a certain section of the population. If you aren't the chosen elite, then you're in trouble.
We've gotten so toxically silly that it seems lost on a lot of people. But when you really pause and internalize the fact that there's a mugshot of a former president, it should make everyone really seriously take a deep breath and pause, because what we're saying here, you don't go back from this. I mean, even people who have jumped the team, people like Jenna Ellis, who have also, I think have gone more or less to work, ostensibly for people like DeSantis. Even she had to say, this is, arresting in a mugshot of the former president. You just can't do this. We don't do this here.
Well, right, and you take a mugshot because you don't want the person to leave the country.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he's the most famous person on the planet, the most photographed person on the planet. Everyone knows who he is. He ain't going anywhere. This was vindictive, and I said, I think the left. Look, we've talked about this before. The right has every a knack, I guess, for losing elections when they shouldn't. But the left always overplays its hand. And right now, I think they thought this was really going to help them out. And it may ultimately hurt in a general. It could hurt in this primary. But I think the more and more people actually start to pay attention and realize what's going on, they're understanding that this country is taking a turn right now at the hands of the Democrats into territory that in years past, in election cycles past, Republicans are kind of more, hey, just stay out of our lives. And, we love the Constitution because the Constitution gives us the right to be left alone. But I think people are understanding, the team that wants to be left alone always loses to the team that wants to win.
They're constantly on the offensive march. Yes, they do.
They want to win. And it is never – the Overton window always shifts. They don't say, let me just get to this point, folks on the right, and then we'll stop.
Yep.
No, they never stop. They keep changing the rules of the game. They keep changing their goals. They keep changing their strategies to take more and more of our freedoms and our rights away. And I think it has to stop. And if Donald Trump is the vehicle, if he's the vessel to help make it stop, then my gosh, we better all saddle up and get riding.
And I'll tell you, when you see people like Hillary Clinton show up on TV and laugh and laugh and laugh, and Joe Biden tweets out, "Boy, apropos of nothing, but today seems like a good day to give to my campaign." It's not just the injustice; it's the outright arrogant mocking and laughing. Like, what are you going to do about it?
It's more though. It is a lack of self-awareness and a self-righteousness that they've never been called out for. So when Anthony Blinken goes on television and says, "Hey, we completely repudiate and we reject countries across this globe who have jailed their political opponents," you're like, wait, what? Your government's literally doing that right now in America. You have Hillary Clinton going, well, look, I mean, I can't tell you, Rachel Maddow, I can't tell you, I see this and it blows my mind. This guy clearly violated the law. He should go to jail. You broke many laws, that they just decided not to prosecute and said so publicly. And what are you going to do about it? No one did a thing about it. And Hillary Clinton, for years, saying Donald Trump's the illegitimate president. I won that election. Chuck Schumer, Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, all saying, hey, machines were hacked. Hey, they changed votes in elections. And look, you're a young guy, Chris, but I'm old enough to remember in 2016 when it was your patriotic duty to question the outcome of an election. If you didn't, you were in league with Putin.
Yes.
You were a Russian stooge. Then in 2020, you said, hey, wait a minute. How come I went to vote and someone said that I had already voted earlier that day when I hadn't? Aha, election denier. You should go to jail. It's like, wait, what? The left has been complaining about elections in this country for decades. And something I remembered yesterday, and just bear with me for a second. You remember as they try to go after Trump for fake electors and this whole thing in Michigan and all this kind of nonsense. You remember the campaign that Deborah Messing, Hollywood actor, Martin Sheen, Hollywood, Bob Odenkirk, actor and comedian. You remember when they did YouTube videos saying, hey, Electoral College, guys, there's nothing that says you have to vote for the person who won your state.
Great point.
You can save American democracy. You go when you cast your ballot and you cast it for Hillary Clinton. They put this safeguard in the Constitution for you to do that. You can be a quote-unquote American hero and quote-unquote change the course of history. Does anyone remember that at all?
I had forgotten until you said so.
Earlier about side by side, right? The side by side. These are happening together simultaneously, where they get to do all these things. The Democrat Party has refused to seat electors after Republicans won presidential elections since Reagan. Every cycle. We do it once, and now we're insurrectionists. We should go to jail. We should be indicted. We should be arrested, all of these types of things. They've been doing it every single cycle, and no one cares because, see, they're standing up for America, but we're not somehow. It is such a slap in the face to the American people, to our rights, as I said, given by God in the Constitution. More people need to understand what's at stake here, and they need to get in the fight.
This is why we call Hogan Gidley. He's the former deputy White House press secretary, and he's with the Center for Election Integrity at the America First Policy Institute. Before I let you go, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, did you watch this Republican debate? I'm sure you saw Trump with Tucker.
Oh, yeah.
And we've just been kind of analyzing generally how the media, as a media guy who's been in this now for a couple of minutes, it's fascinating. And just since 2015, it appears Fox's numbers are half what they were in that Republican debate that Trump appeared in 2015. Tucker's numbers were, stellar on X, formerly Twitter. The media landscape shifting generally, I'd love your thoughts on, and then what you think of how Fox has handled itself. Fox seems like they're in a weird, desperate place to kind of send the message that, hey, corporate America, you can advertise with us. We're good, we're cool. And they're keeping Don Jr. out of the spin room, and they're really acting weird, Hogan.
Yeah, the situation, I don't envy their situation. I don't envy the RNC's situation. Look, there's a reason places like Newsmax and others are really gaining viewership and gaining in popularity. News stations really aren't quote unquote news stations anymore. They've basically turned into editorial pages.
Yeah. You
read them to either have your opinion, confirmed, or to be mad at someone else's opinion you disagree with. That's basically what it is. There aren't too many news outlets anymore, but the debate itself. Now, look, there are divisions at Fox that do great news. Don't get me wrong. I love Brett Baer's show, for example, as one. I just come off the top of my head. But the debate was interesting to say the least. People had really good – I think everyone on stage had a good moment, several good moments, and everyone on stage had some really cringe moments. It shocked me that with DeSantis where he is, that he wasn't the target. Instead, Vivek was the target. Mm-hmm. That tells me a couple things. One is he's clearly carrying forth a more Trumpian style / agenda. That's why they all went after him. But second is internal polling in these campaigns must be showing that the Vivek bump is real. Otherwise, they wouldn't go after him. They wouldn't even really acknowledge him. That was kind of interesting to me. I felt like they didn't really get to a lot of the issues we wanted to talk about. Where was the conversation about Hunter Biden? Where was the conversation?
China? Hello?
China, human trafficking, child smuggling at the border should have been a bigger deal. They didn't mention Joe Biden that much. That kind of shocked me to some degree. The candidates didn't anyway. But look, I think the field will get smaller and smaller by the next debate. You may even have someone like Larry Elder join the stage as a couple of others drop out, and he picks up some steam too. It's pretty clear that the intent of these things, you got to make a hot ticket, right? You got to make it must-watch TV, but the person who makes it must-watch TV wasn't even there. But understand, debates are about creating moments and taking that moment and turning it into momentum, and then taking momentum and somehow starting a movement, okay? And I don't know that anybody was able to do that last night because Donald Trump is still the front runner by 50 points. Climbing that rung in that ladder when you got 50 rungs to go is going to take some time and some effort. But don't forget, in the Democrat debate, someone who tried to create a moment did a good job at the time, and that was Kamala Harris when she called Joe Biden a segregationist and a sex criminal. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes.
She had T-shirts ready to go. But, of course, she failed so bad to turn that moment into momentum and a movement that she didn't even make it to the first vote. She dropped out before that. She was polling 8th amongst black people in the Democratic primary process behind fake Indian Elizabeth Warren and white guy from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. And Pete Buttigieg. Like, she was way down in black support. So she isn't popular at all. And make no mistake, a second Joe Biden administration means you're getting a President Harris. Don't even second guess that.
Come back and see us. It's been too long, Hogan Gidley. Thank you, my friend. 20 years in business. Congratulations to Mike Lindell and MyPillow. 80 million pillows sold over those 20 years. Can you believe that number? Well, Mike and his team at MyPillow, they want to thank each and every one of you for giving them such success over these many years. And now they want to celebrate by giving you the lowest price in MyPillow history. He told me that if you call or log on to MyPillow.com or call them today, you'll get a queen-size MyPillow to celebrate their 20 years in business for just $19.98. 20 years and just about $20 with tax. How about that? $19.98, that's it, for a queen-size MyPillow. Do you know the regular price of this thing is almost $50 more? So you're talking about a $50 discount. By the way, for the king size, you'll get it for just $10 more, $29.98. It's a huge sale. And incidentally, in addition to these pillows that are deeply discounted right now, you go to MyPillow.com and you'll get a discount using my name, Chris Podcast. Use that as your promo code, Chris Podcast. Click on the radio listener square and enter that. And you're talking about mattress toppers, pet beds, mattresses, my slippers, sheets, and, of course, the pillows, so much more. You can try it on. If you've gone to MyPillow.com and you've thought to yourself, maybe it's a little expensive, now's the time. Celebrate 20 years with Mike Lindell. And know this, 10-year warranty. 10 years they warranty these things. So if they ever wear out or you have trouble, you can exchange for brand new. 60 days they let you take this stuff home, and if you don't like it, you can send it back for a full refund. So you got nothing to lose but a great night's sleep on MyPillow products. I've colleagues I've sent these My Slippers to. They love them. Christine loves hers. The sheets are comfortable. The towels are super absorbent. Even old Dean loves his dog bed. And we drink my coffee here at the office every day. I just brewed some this morning. MyPillow.com, promo code ChrisPodcast, all right? With that warranty fully intact, or call 800-932-5056. 800-932-5056, promo code ChrisPodcast, or MyPillow.com, promo code ChrisPodcast, if you please to save. She's brilliant. We've leaned on her quite a bit. You know that she's covered election integrity issues with aplomb, and now she's all over everything from the Hunter Biden sweetheart deal and the fourth. It's kind of crazy, actually. Fourth indictment of Donald Trump. When you actually think about it, it's like I was watching MSNBC and CNN with their indictment specials yesterday. They were so breathless with excitement, and I thought to myself, even their viewers have got to get bored. Margot Cleaveland is back, senior legal correspondent at the Federalist. I mean, Margot, I would think even people that are excited to see Donald Trump in prison, how many times can you do indictment specials? There have been 4. What do they need, 6, 8? I mean, when do you run out of gas on this? Good morning.
Good morning. I don't think they will. I think that the Trump derangement syndrome has them chugging with all engines and just waiting to fill up the tank to go to the next town in the next indictment.
You know, Ann Coulter is no fan of Donald Trump any longer, or anyone affiliated with him, really. But one thing she did say I thought was notable, these mugshots that they've been releasing. She said, this is unnecessary. This is purely to embarrass these people and nothing more. What do you say?
Well, those were going to be released, which is why it was really clever of at least a couple of them to do the Tom DeLay, which I'm not sure how old you are, but I vividly remember the Tom DeLay smile. And Jenna Ellis did a great one there, as did one of the other Republicans. You know, the whole thing is to get the Republicans and to scare the attorneys off from doing legitimate election challenges in 2024. The mugshots is the minimal part of concern. The bigger concern is the indictment itself, and that they went after the attorneys, that they went after the individuals in the Republican Party who were following the precedent to preserve a challenge to the election. That's the part we should really be worrying about, not the mugshots.
As the legal correspondent at the Federalist, Margot, as you look at these 4 indictments, one in Manhattan, it's a previously adjudicated and fully vetted and cleared by the FCC charge, by the way. So I look at it personally as the weakest of all of them. So there's the Manhattan one, there's the Jack Smith federal indictments, one in D.C. on January 6th, one in Florida on the documents, and then this one yesterday, this Fani Willis and Fulton on Trump and his team trying to, quote, overturn the election results in Georgia. Of them, which one do you think's weakest? Which one of them do you think has juice that should concern Team Trump? Or do all of them, maybe?
Well, I think that the only one that has any juice is the documents one. And I can only say that because I don't know exactly what was in the documents. That's what makes it difficult to assess. So because the documents are classified or supposedly were classified and have top secret or whatever jargon they're using to get Trump, it's hard to do an assessment on that. But the other 3 really are just plain frivolous. And let's just pick them apart. The Manhattan one, as you noted, that was already looked at, cleared. The only way they got Trump there is they brought on outside pro bono guys working for the DA to find a crime that they could get Trump for. And where did he come from? He came from a big Democrat firm. So I had covered that right around the time it broke. If you look at Jack Smith's other indictment about Trump supposedly interfering with the election, and that one is just not sound based on what the precedent is for the types of cases he's bringing. And that one just legally is not sound. The Georgia one has some parts to it that could be sound, but those don't really implicate Trump. So you've got the RICO one, which gets everybody in. And that's crazy because there's no underlying enterprise, which you need for a RICO case. And what they're doing instead is they're trying to create a RICO case out of what would be a conspiracy. But the problem is there is no conspiracy to do anything illegal. So that goes out the window. And I had done a piece where it kind of broke all the charges down and looked at what they were. And the only thing that could have anything of merit would be false statements. And then I'd have to actually say, okay, who was making the false statements to whom? And that doesn't pull in Trump. So those three really are going to take a lot of time, take a lot of energy, take a lot of attention, but there's nothing substantive that should hang up Trump. Most of those could be done as a matter of law, meaning the judge can throw them out. It doesn't even get that far to a jury. The document one, I just can't say that because I don't know what the underlying documents were. I
heard somebody in a report this week say it would be almost impossible to find a purely impartial jury for Donald Trump. You agree with that? I mean, I don't know who in the world doesn't know who the man is and have an opinion about him.
Right. But they say, but that's not really the standard. So you have to take kind of what a normal person would say as being impartial, which is everyone's got an opinion on it. No one's going to be impartial. And what the legal standard is, can you put aside your views and judge only the evidence? And if the jury says yes, then they are considered impartial unless you have some sort of evidence that can call into question that. So I think from a practical standpoint, you're not going to get an impartial jury. From a legal standpoint, under what is required, you will.
Margot Cleaveland with us, senior legal correspondent at the Federalist. I don't know how I could go in all kinds of directions. Then I want to shift to the Bidens. But this came up during the debate. Pence wanted all the candidates on the stage to certify once and for all, and the moderators asked the same thing. Everybody wanted like universal agreement that Mike Pence was right to certify the elections on January 6th. It was a tacit, I think, slap at Trump by the moderators and Pence and everybody else. Once and for all, let's seal this thing shut. Trump had no standing to question the certification of the election or even suggest that Mike Pence could have interjected. Now, as a legal matter, I'm earnestly asking, as a legal matter, have you ever studied that or have you formed an opinion of that particular exchange?
Right. So I had looked at what the argument was, and I don't think it was a strong argument. Okay. It was definitely not a criminal argument. I don't think it was a prudent argument either. But it was really just a show with the whole raise of hands and Mike Pence trying to, plume his feathers to, declare to the Republicans that, yes, I did the right thing. Yeah, he did the right thing, but that doesn't mean there weren't problems with the election. And it doesn't mean that we sit there and we go back. And here I thought Ron DeSantis did a good job. It's like, look, why are we relitigating this? You're handing this to Biden as an issue. Yeah, you certified it. That was the proper thing to do. But we're going to look forward to things. I think the more troubling thing that the Republicans should be concerned about, and rather than, fan Mike Pence's fame here, is looking at what the problems were with the election and the concern that you're not going to have attorneys who are willing to actually litigate legitimate arguments because they've criminalized them.
Yes, and this actually dovetails with the second half of our conversation, the Bidens. I know what DeSantis is saying, and I don't think he actually means this, but I want to be very clear when we say let's not talk about 2020 in the sense that we're talking about who won the election and should Trump or Pence have certified it. I agree that ship has sailed. However, I think it critically important that we continue to hammer and relitigate that the Hunter Biden story and the Biden corruption and Biden's own testimony and debates and the media's complicity and the government collusion with media and the 51 intelligence agencies to keep this from the American people, I think that story has to be told a lot throughout this election cycle. You?
Oh, absolutely. That part of it is not done. And I was actually listening to some local talk, and they were saying how everyone said it's a fair election. I'm like, no. What people have said is that Biden won the election. He's in the White House after all, and that there wasn't widespread fraud. I would say there were two things. It definitely was not fair, and it was definitely, quote, stolen from Trump. When you say stolen means that we had the intelligence community lying to the American public about the authenticity of the laptop. When you had the government colluding with social media to censor that story, that was an October surprise that would have changed the election. And there's no way about that not being fair. So we can have a discussion about that component, as well as some of the voting irregularities that happened because of or under the guise of COVID, without having to relitigate other things.
Is the Hunter Biden storyline going to be, I mean, some have said, even Democrats have said, this is it. This is what takes Biden out of this time. This will be the, it may not be overtly why he says he's out, but it will ultimately be Biden's undoing this time. He can't weather at his age and the scandal. He'll step aside. You think or no?
I do think that he will be pushed aside, and I don't think that he will step aside for that reason, but I think that he will end up getting out. I think that they're going to wait until Trump has locked up the nomination for the Republican side, if that happens, and then Biden's going to kind of go into the background and hopefully quiet all this down. But the thing is, the scandal's not just about Joe Biden. It is also about the Attorney General. It's also about the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's also about the DOJ. It's also about the FBI, because not only did they bury the story and help bury the story, they helped hide the crimes. They helped to interfere and obstruct the investigation. And that's why, since we found out about the whistleblowers and the 1023 form, I've been saying we need impeachment inquiries on all of those individuals, not just Joe Biden.
This Weiss, who it's so funny. I mean, like for 4 years he's had the laptop, 4 or 5 years. I mean, we've known about this laptop. They've had it. He's supposedly been the lead investigator on it, and then to name him the special prosecutor on it, it's like what more can that guy learn? I mean, from a legal perspective, if there's anybody that already should be the specialist on it, you know, it's like you've had your car in the mechanic for years, and then the mechanic comes out and says he's naming himself as a special mechanic to take a deeper look at your car. I mean, what more can we learn from the guy? What more does he need to know, do you suppose? If you even trust that this is an honest investigation, which maybe you don't.
Right. So I would say the bigger problem is this person cannot be trusted, because whether he knew what was happening under his watch, he was responsible for it, bottom line. But bigger than this, what he did know was that Hunter Biden's attorneys were playing the President Biden card in October of 22, and that he should have marched in to Attorney General Garland's office then and said, I need special counsel protection. But not only did he not do that, he came out this year and said, no, I had ultimate authority. And what did we learn? He didn't have ultimate authority. If he did, he didn't need this recent appointment. And we also learned that after the whistleblowers came out and started to make these, accusations, that someone from headquarters, from Maine Justice, organized a meeting between Weiss and Hunter Biden's attorney. And the next thing you know, all of a sudden, he got not just a sweetheart deal, but a super sugar sprinkle on top deal that wouldn't have had him pleading guilty to anything. But then Weiss stepped in and said, no, he's got to do a couple misdemeanor tax charges, but we won't recommend any jail time. This all happened because of DOJ Maine Justice getting involved. And yet Weiss and Attorney General Garland were saying to everyone, no, Weiss is in charge. There's no political interference here. Weiss has no grounds to be leading this investigation, and he should be subjected to an impeachment inquiry.
This Weiss himself should be impeached, you think?
Yeah, well, I don't know about impeached, but definitely subjected to an inquiry to find out what he knew, how much pressure he had, and whether or not he misled Congress, which I think he did, given his letters talking about the authority he had.
Well, and a couple of whistleblowers, right? One of them actually testified that they were pretty clear he wasn't in charge. He wasn't driving that bus. Right? Didn't they say?
But yet he represented that he was to Congress. Mm-hmm. He should not have anything to do with this investigation, but the only way they can do that really is if they do impeach him. And I'm hopeful that he'll step down rather than that happens. So, but like I said, I'm not just talking Joe Biden. This isn't just a Biden scandal. So just Joe Biden saying, I'm not running, that doesn't end this, because this is part and parcel for the DOJ and the FBI and their weaponization to go against political enemies or favor their political friends.
Did this Delaware judge, Margot Cleaveland, at the Federalist, incidentally, if you haven't read her work, please do so. She's at Prof. MJ Cleveland, at Prof. MJ Cleveland on X, formerly Twitter. Got to get used to saying that. Margot, did this judge end up changing the course of this storyline, do you think, singularly, single-handedly? Did she, in stopping and thwarting this plea deal and basically saying, nope, no dice, do we have her to thank for continuing the story? Would it have gone away otherwise, do you think?
I don't think it would have gone away, but we do have her to thank because it means that there might be some semblance of justice that is done and that it is starting to kind of ratchet up the analysis. So let me break that apart in two ways. So first, the reason it wouldn't have gone away is the plea deal and this pretrial diversion agreement would have been filed with the court. So everyone would have gone through those with a fine-tooth comb. The judge just happened to have done it herself and laid it all out for us. But it would have still come out what was going on. The difference is she highlighted it and she said, this isn't normal. What does this mean? And she made the parties go back and clarify, and that's why the plea deal blew up, which means now there's a chance that additional charges will be filed. So we definitely have her to thank for taking her responsibility seriously. And if you read the transcript, she did not predispose this case one way or the other. She asked questions, and she constantly made clear, I haven't decided what I'm going to do. I just need you to help me understand how can I do this. I understand why you did this, but I need you to tell me as a judge who has to be involved in it, how is this appropriate? And she really deserves kudos for doing that.
Yeah, because as we talk about just the gun charge alone, I mean, she's been very, very tough with felony gun charges in the past. Just previously, she'd locked away, I think, a guy for 4 or 5 years or something, I'd heard, on just a similar felony gun charge alone. So I'm sure to her it's anathema to see this litany of potential charges just scrubbed and turned into a couple of tax misdemeanors.
Right, and she was very clear when she was doing the questioning that she is not the one charged with making these decisions, that she would be kind of getting out of her lane. That's a prosecutorial discretion issue. But she also made clear that under the normal type of plea, if you give someone the promise not to prosecute, that type of plea is one where she has to decide, is this in the public interest? And that does take into account the seriousness of the offense. So she was posing these amazing questions and asking them, so why are you giving me this type of plea where I have no say on it, where normally I would have a say on it? So she was asking all the right questions, and they never answered them because when they went back and started talking, they realized that they were going to have a problem when they went back in front of the judge.
Margot Cleaveland, final question. They say all the time on the left and others that, what you've basically proven is that Hunter Biden has collected a lot of money and he doesn't have a resume that warrants or justifies him being paid that kind of money. But that's not a crime. And you've shown that Joe Biden's been on the phone with Hunter Biden while he's doing business, but you've not proven that Joe Biden has benefited directly from the money that Hunter Biden was paid. You've not proven that Joe Biden was actually intimately involved in negotiating any business. So really what you've just concluded here is a guy fell into a lot of money and he didn't pay taxes on it. That's all you guys have been able to prove when it's when all is said and done. How would you? I hear that a lot. What do you say?
I would say that whoever's saying that does not know what the evidence is. And when we're talking about proof, that we don't have to prove anything here. You prove things in a court of law. The question should be is there evidence that is sufficient to justify an investigation? And there absolutely is. One, just coming into this money because he had these relationships might not be a crime, but the evidence shows that he did more than that he was lobbying on behalf of these foreign companies, which requires you to register, and you don't, that is a crime. The second thing is there's no requirement that Joe Biden have to be intimately involved in order to have abused his power and be criminally responsible for the payments going to Hunter Biden. All they needed is Joe Biden to be on the phone. They didn't need him to say anything. All they needed was for Hunter to be able to show he had the power to get his dad.
Yeah, just to show he could call him. That's it. Yep.
That he could. And he did. And he did it with these other people there. Yep. And we also have more evidence than that. We do have evidence from Joe's own mouth saying he got the prosecutor fired, who they wanted fired. And everyone's out there saying, oh, well, they were going to fire him anyway. Oh, so what happened is Hunter Biden basically bilked his customers by taking money for something that was going to happen anyway. That's not a get out of jail free card. And the evidence isn't so clear that that's what was going to happen. The other thing is people are pushing this story of, well, the prosecutor was actually the bad guy. Well, if he was the bad guy and was ignoring Burisma, then why did the Burisma people want him gone? It's ridiculous that they're falling for that narrative. So anyone who is saying this is just, Hunter Biden using his name, there's no crime, does not know what the evidence is and is ignorant about the connections and the evidence that go directly to Joe Biden, including the reference to him as the big guy by people in the know, which included how much he got, Hunter Biden saying that he got 50% of how much Hunter made. He said this to his daughter. This isn't a matter of some braggadocio. He was saying it to his daughter in a whiny communication about, I'm not going to make you do what Pops makes me do. There's more than enough evidence implicating both of them in criminal activity.
And most infuriating is to hear somebody like Jake Tapper say this week, Trump was right. Trump was right during the debates that Biden took money when Biden was screaming, yelling, and that's not true, and it's been discredited in 51 intelligence agents. It's so infuriating, knowing what we know now, to sit here and listen to people like Jake Tapper say Trump was right.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we knew it then. It was infuriating then, too.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that the press is coming out belatedly, probably because they know there's not going to be any ramifications. The next time they want to lie, they'll lie if it benefits them. And then, they'll do a mea culpa 3 years later. Oh, yeah, the laptop was real. And still not care about what that means if it was real, which is that it implicates Hunter and Joe Biden in a huge conspiracy.
Gosh, I'm glad for your brilliant work, and I hope everybody reads everything you write because it's always so quality at the Federalist. Senior legal correspondent there at the Federalist. She's at Prof. MJ Cleveland on Twitter. She's Margot Cleveland at the Federalist. Thank you, Margot, so much.
The Chris Stigall Show podcast.